Hello, brothers and sisters, fellow Equatorians. This is Sabata with another session of a video. Now, on behalf of the Equatoria Advocacy Foundation, again, I'm the Director for Resource Mobilization and Project Management. On this video, I would like to just discuss a very important area on federalism that I would like to clarify. We the Equatorians, we have been fighting for federation since the 1950s during the Anyanya 1 struggle, the first civil war. Federation is federalism, and basically when we the Equatorians are saying we are calling for federation or we are calling for federalism, I want this to be understood very clearly. What is it that we are really calling for, and what is federalism really? All right, federalism is being said here and there for some reasons that doesn't bring the essence of federalism really. Now, I want you guys to listen very carefully when we talk of we want federalism. What is it that we are really calling for? What we are calling for is, we are basically saying that we want the authority of government or the authority of governance to be separated such that the central government, which is the federal government, or the central authority, which is the federal, will have limited powers or authority on what it can deliberate on as far as issues of governance or issues of life, and that the state local governments or the state local authorities should also be given powers by constitution, should be given powers to deliberate and decide on issues of life. All right, and here is the most important thing: they should be given powers to deliberate or decide on issues of life, and I'm talking about socio-cultural and socio-economical, because socio-cultural and socio-economical together is managed by socio-political practices. Okay, socio-cultural, socio-economical is managed by socio-political practices or activities. So basically, when we call for federalism, we are saying that we want the central authority to be limited in powers, such that the state local authorities will be given powers by the constitution to deliberate and decide on matters of life, socio-cultural and socio-political, that is socio-cultural, socio-economical, that is socio-political, in a way that the central authority will not intervene, will not have powers to intervene, to interfere on the decisions that the state governments are doing. Okay, and as a matter of fact, the essence of federalism in the U.S. Constitution says that powers that are not expressly given to the federal by constitution belongs to the state. And I think it's in the 9th or 11th Amendment. I'm not sure, but you can just Google that and you'll find. All right. This is federalism. Finish. It is not complicated. That is federalism. Now, federalism does not stand on its own. It stands on policies. Okay? Or else, if you don't need the policies that will make it a reality, then how will it be federalism? Because it's just a concept. You know, a concept is just a concept. Like freedom is a concept. Liberty is a concept. It be liberty. Liberty wala freedom. No, it is a concept, but you make it a reality by policies. All right, you enter policies and then pass them into laws that will bring that concept into reality, that will make Felan will have what is called freedom of speech, such that maybe hakimo kalama lo onusu. You make it reality through policies. So the same with federalism. Federalism is a concept. You make it reality with how how the powers of government works. It is the powers of government that makes federalism a reality. And those powers are basically policies that are written and passed such that it allows the government by constitution, or the federal government by constitution, to have limited powers over the states. This is federalism. Finish. It is not very complicated. We the Equatorians have problems of security, land grabbing. These are our major problems, including others. What kind of policies do we need inside this federal system to solve our problems? One, if we will be able to manage to inject and make others believe that it's a good idea that all the ministries that are under the jurisdiction of the federal, those ministries, some of them should be redeployed to the state, under the state local authority. And those that are going to be redeployed under the state local authorities are the ones that are dealing with the issues that the state will be deliberating on, and the federal will have no saying on it. For example, if we have problems in security, then let us have the ministry of ministry that regulates internal security be deployed under the state. In this way, the state can police security, or can put regulations such that the national security, the national security that falls under Homeland Security, will not have saying over them. All right, then the local security will run security of states the way they want, and the national security will not have saying, will not intervene on the resolutions that they come with. We are having land problems, land grabbing and all that. Then the ministry that regulates lands should also be redeployed within the states, so that they will then also make policies that are fair enough for people within the states not to see land grabbing happening, so that any act of land grabbing will then be categorized as a crime and will then eventually be adjudicated under the law. And also the courts. There should be what is called the national courts. That is, there will be a Supreme Court, and then there will be courts that will attend into national issues, and then courts with general jurisdictions, pretty much the ones that are local of the states. Okay, and those ones that are usually of the states can even hear cases that are happening within the counties. Incidences, crimes that are taking place within the counties or within the PIAMs can all be brought into the state courts. Usually they are called, like in the United States, they are called states. The state courts are called states with courts with general jurisdiction. They hear all these cases. In this way, we will be able to. I've just explained how policies, how we can need policies that will make federalism a reality in a way that will solve some of the problems that we have. And while we do that, we'll also realize that because federal is above the state, then we will also respect, we will not try to overlap or go adversary with federal. If we happen to go adversary over the federal, there should be something called supremacy clause or elastic clause that stretches the federal power over the states. All right, and in this way the states will back down and the federal law will prevail. Okay, like for example, if the states decide they want to handle issues of education and they want to build a curriculum of education within the states, but the federal decides that no, we want to handle issues of education because we want to create what is called uniform values in order to be able to build what is called national values. And in this way we want to institute the ideas, or we want to institute the education and let the states only adapt what we are instituting. Then this is a conflicting interest. Then the states will have to leave it unto the federal desire on grounds of or based on what is called elastic clause or supremacy clause that stretches the authority of the federal over the state. And there are what is also called joint powers. Like for example, if the states decide that they want to run the ministries of roads and ministries of roads, for example, and federal says, well, if you are running the Ministry of Roads, you're going to be constructing roads within your states, but then I also want to connect all the states with what is called federal highways. So in this way, they will have what is called joint authority or joint power. For example, this is how it works. A state can have a state route that runs from one end to the other, all right? And the federal will fund that state. The federal will fund that road, the construction of that road, but the state will regulate it. You see, this is called joint powers. Like for example, here in the United States, if you look at I-80, if you're coming from the East Coast and you pass Iowa, for example, and by the way, I-80 is a federal highway, just like I-94. All the interstates are federal highways. So if you're running through Iowa, for example, it's a federal highway, but it's regulated by the Iowa state local government. And once you enter Nebraska, it's a different speed limit, because the state of the local government in Nebraska regulates it, even though it's a state highway. This is called what's called joint powers, you see. So I hope I've clarified that area, kind of, hopefully, and I will call this video one. I will be coming from time to time to be talking about federalism, to clarify certain areas. It's very important that this gets understood very well. Sometimes here the discussions that are going sometimes makes me surprised, because the concept of federalism can be found on YouTube's videos. Many people have done what is called concepts of federalism and explained so much about it. Professors and associate professors at universities spoke about them. It's very easy to understand. You can even read them in Google. They say, yes, this is video one. I will definitely come up with some couple of videos. The most important thing is we may not be able to obtain federalism in our generation. This is something that we've started fighting for since Anyanya, and we don't know what is going to happen. But the most important thing is to understand it very well and to understand how it will solve our problems, so that if our generation fails to bring federalism, hopefully the coming generation will not slack down and will pick up the fight from there and continue. Thank you. God bless you. And happy Valentine. Today is Valentine's Day as well.